Once, in the great kingdom of Eldoria, there was a king named Theron the Mighty. He was once a good ruler, strong, wise, and just. But as the years passed, he became obsessed with power. He feared growing old, feared losing control, and most of all, feared being forgotten. One day, a mysterious figure appeared in his court, cloaked in black and speaking in whispers. The stranger offered Theron a gift, a crown, unlike any other. It was forged in the Underworld, made of dark iron, with strange runes carved into it. The stranger claimed that whoever wore the crown would never be defeated. No army could overthrow them, no blade could harm them, and no sickness could weaken them. King Theron, blinded by his hunger for power, placed the crown on his head without hesitation. The moment he did, the world around him seemed to darken. A sharp pain ran through his skull, and a deep, cold voice echoed in his mind. "Now, you belong to us. The curse begins." At first, the king thought nothing of it. He felt stronger than ever. His wounds healed instantly. His voice thundered across the castle halls, and his enemies trembled at the mere mention of his name. His advisors praised him, his warriors feared him, and his people bowed even lower. But soon, strange things began to happen. The king's eyes, once a deep brown, turned pitch black. His skin grew cold and pale, and his fingernails sharpened into claws. His voice became deeper, and his once noble face twisted into something unnatural. Servants whispered in fear. Something was changing within him. Worst of all, the king no longer felt emotions. He no longer cared for the joy of his people, the love of his family, or even the beauty of his own kingdom. He ruled with cruelty, ordering harsh punishments for the smallest mistakes. He declared war on peaceful lands, not for power or wealth, but simply for the pleasure of watching cities burn. His daughter, Princess Eldoria, was the only one who still saw the father beneath the monster. She had always loved him dearly, and it broke her heart to see what he had become. One night, as she watched from the castle tower, she saw her father standing alone in the courtyard. The moonlight revealed something terrifying. His shadow was not his own. It stretched unnaturally, moving like a living creature, twisting and writhing on the ground. Eldoria knew then that the crown was cursed. A daughter's mission determined to save her father. Eldoria sought the wisdom of the royal scholar, an old man named Master Orlin. He told her of a legend. The crown was made in the underworld by a wicked god of darkness. Whoever wore it would be granted power, but would slowly lose their soul until they were nothing but a monster. "The only way to break the curse," Orlin whispered, "is to destroy the crown. But be warned, child, your father will not let you take it from him easily." Eldoria knew what she had to do, but she also knew she couldn't do it alone. She gathered her most loyal allies. Sir Alden, her father's most trusted knight, who had begun to question the king's growing cruelty. Lyra, a skilled thief who could move unseen through the castle. Eldrin, a sorcerer who had studied dark magic and knew its weaknesses. Together, they formed a plan to steal the crown and destroy it before the curse consumed King Theron completely. The heist late one night, while the king rested in his chambers, Eldoria and her companions crept through the castle. The air was thick with a strange, unnatural cold. As they approached the throne room, they saw dark figures lurking in the shadows, twisted creatures that seemed neither fully alive nor fully dead. These were the king's new guards, monsters born from the curse. Lyra moved first, slipping past the creatures with ease. She reached the doors of the king's chamber and signaled the others forward. But just as they stepped inside, the air turned heavy, and a deep voice filled the room. "You think you can take what is mine?" The king was awake. He rose from his throne, and for the first time, they saw him in his full cursed form. His skin had turned to dark stone, cracks glowing with fiery light. His once noble hands were now claws, and his face was twisted into something inhuman. "Eldoria?" he growled, his black eyes locking onto his daughter. "You have betrayed me." Tears filled her eyes. "Father, please, the crown is destroying you. Let us save you." But Theron only laughed a sound that was no longer his own. "I am already saved," he said. "I am more than a man. I am a god." And then he attacked. The final battle, Sir Alden charged, sword drawn, but the king swatted him aside, like a mere insect. Eldrin unleashed powerful magic, but the king absorbed it as if it were nothing. Lyra tried to slip behind him and grab the crown, but the moment her fingers touched it, a blast of dark energy sent her flying across the room. Eldoria knew there was only one way. She had to do it herself. She ran toward her father, dodging his monstrous claws. With all her strength, she leaped onto his back and reached for the crown. "No!" Theron roared, grabbing her wrist. His grip was like ice and fire all at once. But Eldoria did not stop. She grabbed the crown and, with a scream of pain, ripped it from his head. The moment the crown left his head, Theron collapsed. The dark energy that had consumed him exploded outward, shaking the entire castle. The creatures in the shadows howled in agony before vanishing into smoke. The sky, once darkened by his power, began to clear. Eldoria, shaking and wounded, raised the cursed crown over her head and smashed it against the stone floor. A terrible scream echoed through the halls as the crown shattered into 1,000 pieces. And then, silence. The end of the curse. When the dust settled, Eldoria crawled toward her father. He was no longer a monster. His skin was pale and weak, his body thin, as if drained of life. But his eyes were his own again. "Eldoria," he whispered, a single tear rolling down his cheek. "What have I done?" She held his hand tightly. "It wasn't you, father. The crown did this to you." He looked around at the ruined throne room, at the broken remains of his kingdom, and grief filled his face. "I was blind. I let my greed take everything from me." Eldoria helped him to his feet. "Then let's rebuild, together." And so, the reign of the cursed king ended that night. The kingdom of Eldoria would take years to heal, but with Eldoria's guidance, it would rise again this time, free from darkness. As for the shattered crown, its pieces were buried deep, far from any mortal hands. But some say, on the coldest nights, you can still hear whispers in the wind. Power is never truly lost.